Hi, this is Sherry Veronica, and I have Stefan Hewitt on the line with me. So we're just going to go through it because I'm getting calls out of England, and he is, as you know, he is in prison there in England for matricide, for they say alleged. Well, it's not allegedly that because you were found guilty, but you're saying you're innocent, and let's just talk about the trial part of it. What can you, in the 15 or 20 minutes you have, take us through what you think was unfair because you happen to think that certain parts of the trial was unfair. Explain that to all who are listening to this.
Well, yeah, because what happened is that from the beginning, from the time my lawyers and I found out that I was innocent of crime with the evidence provided, all I had to do is focus on how the prosecution and the police keep it alive. And the only way they can keep the case alive is to hide evidence. So I focus on that. And then with the paperwork I have in my possession, I can clearly bring to the attention when I do get an appeal the what they call it, miscarriage of justice and what's called perverting the course of justice on behalf of the police and the prosecution. Now, when I was standing in the court and they convicted me, my lawyer made a point to say to the judge, he did not do it. He's not saying that he's not going to say that he's going to show remorse because he didn't do it. He made that the lawyer made that clear to the judge.
Right.
So he said, well, he's sorry that he lost his mom, but he's not saying that. He didn't use a third party. He said that I'm speaking on behalf of Mr. Hewitt, and because he didn't do it, he's not going to say he did do it. You understand?
Yeah.
So that was made clear to the judge in the day they convicted me. Because every time someone gets convicted in this country, they have to show remorse. If they don't show remorse, the judge tend to add more time or
right
for a reason to give you extra time when you're sentenced or try to make you look like a demon.
Right.
That's what they do all the time.
Yeah.
So the day my mom passed me and the police came to my house, they, like I said before, they did a 2-hour investigation. I was exonerated in the first investigation. No case to answer. They give me the number and said, look, make funeral arrangements. We're sorry for your loss, but there's nothing else we can do here. After a week of my mom being in at the autopsy at the hospital.
You mean the morgue? You mean the morgue? You mean the morgue?
Yeah, hospital morgue. Yeah, because she was at St. Thomas's Hospital and then when the autopsy was performed by a Dr. George Simi, I thought it was a man, it was a woman. She noticed all these fractures. Yeah, so to make sure that people listen to this, when they say I murder or they're accusing me of murdering my mom, it's not a question of me poisoning her or hitting her over the head or doing something violent towards her. It's basically the fractures to the ribs. That's the whole case for the prosecution. We spent 4 years trying to determine if CPR caused these fractures to the ribs or an assault. If they prove to the court it was an assault, which it didn't, it would be classed as murder. So it's based solely on the rib fractures, which they found, which is 27, and all over her body was 39.
So okay, you want to talk about the fractures. You want to talk about your innocence, but can I ask you a question, Stefan?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, why after I am well, you know what? I'm just gonna ask the question. Were you unaware of how the judicial system worked in England? Were you unaware that a lot of black men...
I was aware. That's why I installed so many cameras in my house where my mom was there.
So you were not unaware. You were not unaware.
Yeah, I was not unaware. I knew how the system is because I've been through it before.
Okay, so you also wait. We talked offline, and you wanted me to ask questions. So we're gonna. I'm gonna.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So you were aware of the judicial system there. You were aware
Yeah, when it
of,
comes to black people, yes.
yes, you were aware that the the what will you call it, the people who check on people who are old or people who are infirmed, you were aware that it was a serious case if they thought that the person had one bruise that they shouldn't have had. I think you were aware of that also, weren't you?
Bruises? No. You see, that's another point I was supposed to bring up. My mom has something called dark circles around her eyes. And this my family. I spoke to my family constantly through this trial, and I showed them, and I took 350 pictures because I was trying to make the best of a bad situation. I mean, knowing that she's going to die, and they told me that she's going to die, I had to make sure that I spend enough time with my mom and get her to do things that she
Stefan,
didn't get to do, like go to
Stefan,
yeah. So
Stefan, Stefan,
pictures. Sorry.
Stefan, were you aware of how they were serious when it came to senior citizens and senior citizens getting ill and senior citizens being in the home? Were you aware of how seriously they took what happened to your mother? Were you aware? I don't even know how to put it in words. Were you aware that the health? Okay, were you aware that the health department, if a complaint came in of a neighbor, if a neighbor were to see your mom crying or she were to fall and they were to see you helping her but she fell, were you aware of how the health system worked in England?
Well, yes and no, because like I said, I think I know. I think let me see if I understand what you're saying. Basically, when my mom has a fall, I take her to the hospital, right? The hospital has a policy. They have to carry out an investigation because she's an elderly woman and she had fractures. Their job is to determine if these fractures happen accidentally or intentionally.
You have explained that to me, right? Exactly.
The hospital,
Right.
The hospital.
Yes.
So when the hospital they call social services. So services.
That's where I want to go. Social
I cannot be
services.
present when this investigation is coming on.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So when the investigation was carried out on the 18th of February, I waited until the investigation was over. They make it clear that it's standard, and I cannot be present when social services interviewing my mom.
Stefan, okay, Stefan, wait. Stefan, 1 second. Stefan, wait 1 second. Were you aware of how stringent they were? How seriously, like, atypical they were within that social services system? Were you aware that something that could have been something regular could have turned in, could have mothballed or morphed into a very serious situation for you, like it did? Were you aware of that?
No, I can't be aware of that because nothing happened. Nothing made me worried in terms of what happened to her during the time she was in my care because everything came back. They agreed that these were full. There's nothing to worry about. My neighbors, as far as my neighbor is concerned, the only neighbor that claimed that she heard something, my aunt was living with me at the time. So my aunt knew she was lying because my aunt was there and there was no screams coming from the house.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only misinterpretations. But when I noticed this neighbor, I knew her for a very long time. I knew her saying she's 26 and she's now 30, I think 37, 38. And basically, she made this claim. She lives on the third floor. That she heard my mom scream.
Yeah, I remember you told me.
My neighbors that next to me, and my aunt who was present, because my aunt stayed with me for 5 weeks when she said she heard a scream. My aunt made it clear that there was no scream. But they refused to investigate. They refused to interview my aunt. They claim they can't understand her Bajan language, which is very disappointing. But anyhow, why? My question was, why my friend of so many years turned on me? We had an argument, and the argument was based solely is that I knew that she came into the country illegally, and I knew what she had to do, forge documents to get in here, and she was so scared at the time when she did it. She didn't want no one to know, and I found out. So I brought it to her attention. So when I was trying to get my mom's status in the country, I brought it up again. I said, well, you remember how scared you was when you were illegal? And then she got so upset with me. She told me I always keep bringing it up, and she slammed the phone down. She never spoke to me for a long time. I think that's the spark for her to go against me. I'm the only person no, she came in the country illegally. Well, one of her friends that would say. So there was nothing at all that draw concern, because when she called the police and said it was screams, and the police came after my aunt, they came to my house. They didn't came the same time. They came after my aunt left, and they came into the room and saying, well, neighbor sitting here screaming. They wouldn't tell me who the neighbor was, so I found it was her. Then they interviewed my mom. The police had me in one room, and they had my mom in the next room, and they carried out an interview, and they were happy that there was nothing to worry about. Because the time that my neighbor claimed she heard the screams when my mom had a fall in the bathroom. Mm-hmm. Yeah? When she was having a shower.
Right.
So now that we are in court, and when it all made clear that the videos prove that no assault happened at the appointed time that they claim it happened, I keep asking myself, why is the case still going on? My lawyer's telling me that they can get it thrown out. And then I found out during the case, during the trial, that my own lawyers, the ones that I trusted, mm-hmm. sell me out to the prosecution.
So
how did they do this?
Stefan, wait. Stefan, let's get into the emotional part of this. Because we're gonna talk about this as long as you call me. We're gonna touch on different things.
Yeah.
But at what point did you realize that you made a mistake bringing your mother to the UK? At what point?
When they arrested me.
Oh, when it was too late. Okay.
Yeah, when they arrested me.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, we spent so much time going out and having fun and going to the cinema and going to dinners and meeting up with family that she hasn't seen for a long time. And oh yeah, I like to take her to the breakfast bar in the morning instead of cooking and making breakfast. I would take her to the bar because breakfast is pretty cheap in this country. Mm-hmm. You can get like omelet, what they call a Spanish omelet, everything included. You can get bacon, sausages.
So Stefan,
tea.
Stefan. So when you were arrested, you realized that because everything is cumulative, everything accumulates. So you realized that maybe she should have stayed in Barbados.
No, because I asked myself a question: if I had to do it all again, would I have left her in Barbados? I said no, because if she had done it in Barbados by herself, that would kill me.
So you're saying that you'd rather be in prison in England than to have had your mother die in Barbados?
By herself, yeah. Because my aunt said it to me. My aunt said to me that it would take a week before they find her body. And the close encounter I have is because I get close contact with social services. And like I said before, I called them 32 times throughout the 16 weeks when I involved social services, because social services were involved. It's only when she drank the oil and thought it was water, and I knew that was. Oh yes, sorry. That was a part that scared me. That made me concerned that if she had drank the drainage cleaner instead of the oil, and she had died because of that, then they would arrest me and charge me for neglect.
So bringing your mother to London with all the laws and the rules and the regulations, the social services and everything,
yeah,
was a big mistake. But you'd rather have made that mistake than to leave her in Barbados, correct?
Yes, because me and my aunt had this very same discussion that you're asking me now. Remember, when my aunt came over, it was a week before she left. I said to my aunt, because my mom had a fall in the kitchen, I was really annoyed with her because I told her not to come in the kitchen, and she came in the kitchen when I was mopping, and she fell. And I said to my aunt, if anything happens to my mom in England, anything, they're gonna blame me. She doubted me, and I told her just the other day when I was speaking to her, I said, Dottie, you remember, I told you, anything happens to my mom, they're gonna blame me. So I knew what I was getting myself into, but I would not leave her alone because she almost died in Barbados by herself. When she locked the windows and doors and created heat box. You remember that?
I'm just asking a question. We're just having a conversation here, and my radio is on. So that's what you call
Yeah.
love? Is that what you call love? Because I don't know that kind of love. So maybe is that what you call love?
Well, when it comes to West Indian parents, we not. It's kind of like tough love, and sometimes there's love where you're hugging and you tell the person you love them every day. I tell my mom I love her, of course, but I believe in action. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I believe that the biggest regret I had was not able to create that relationship with her before she got sick, because she was looking after her parents when I was in England, and I didn't. At the time, I had a lot going on, so I didn't go to Barbados and spend time with her, which I regretted, because when she was sick now, I felt guilty knowing that I should have done more before she got sick. If you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you see, because I don't have that nature, I find it all. It's hard for me to digest because, it wouldn't have happened. I would not have played that. I would not have played that card that you played. But like you said,
I know. I mean, because what happened is, knowing what I know now, I would have saved myself some trouble. But at the end of the day, my mom, they made it clear to me my mom was dying, and that was the most important aspect. That if she had, because she was left alone in Barbados, she was by herself.
Yeah, that was explained. Yeah, okay, that's explained.
Yeah, and the reason why she's left by herself, because when people have assignments, they blame people for everything.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that kind of made my family a bit isolated, because I don't think they understood at the time it was the sickness that was causing her to do it.
Right.
She was blaming my uncle for stealing.
Yeah, I know. I understand how it works. Yeah, I understand how being in that situation, anything that's missing, even if it's not missing, they call you a thief. And I understand how that works. But you are in prison right now. How long have you been there?
Well, 4 years and a half now.
So are you being treated well?
Yeah.
Are you being treated?
I was on remand for 4 years. The longest time ever.
Are you being treated well, Stefan? Are you eating good food? Are you being treated well there?
No. I don't want to focus on this. I got to focus on my appeal and getting the information out to who's listening.
So next time we talk, what do you want to talk? What else do you want me to focus on? Because you can't send me notes, so we have to do it here online. What should we focus on for next time you call?
Well, we focus on the court case.
Okay.
The trial.
How much time do you have? How much time do you have on your phone now to continue? How much time?
I don't know.
So let's talk about the court case then. Let's go there.
Yeah. Okay. So what happened is that when the trial took 4 years to start, because when I was arrested, they didn't know how my mom died. They thought she died of respiratory failure, which wasn't the case. But they made that allegation when I first got arrested, and then they threw that theory out the door. You see, they got the power to make up stories, and if they don't fit, then they can get rid of it. They even made up a story that I strangled her, and then when the evidence came out and showed that it wasn't a strangulation, they dumped it. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's everything that they could put their hands on. That's how the system works. And we had to disprove something that they created from their minds that never existed.
Right.
So when we got to court now, I found out my own lawyers I trusted betrayed me and sold me out to the prosecution. How did they do this? Remember I mentioned to you before that the prosecution hid the fact that my mom had rigor mortis.
Yeah.
Because rigor mortis on the London Ambulance report stated at 6:41 a.m. she had rigor mortis. So it means that she had died 2 hours, at least 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So the prosecution wanted the time of death to be 6:43. So she hid the fact from the court and the prosecution that it was rigor mortis. I found out my own lawyers did the same thing. They contacted their pathologist, told the pathologist, didn't tell the pathologist that it was rigor mortis, so that their report can line up with the prosecution's report. And when they found out, I sacked them instantly. So I had to represent myself. When I represented the prosecution, she was so desperate because the case is too weak. I mean, to win, if the prosecution had to face a person that just came out of law school, she would lose. So what she did, she took the advantage that when I was representing myself, they were supposed to choose the jury in front of me. Now, the reason why the procedure is that they have to choose the jury in front of me, I have to say to the court, well, I know this person. I used to work with another person. See, this is the reason why they choose. I have to be there when they choose the jury.
Right.
The prosecution and the judge went behind my back and choose the jury without me being present.
Let me ask you a question. 1 second. Let me ask you a question. You already said that a lot of 90%. You give me a high number of the people who are incarcerated there in England.
Yeah, they make up. They make up about 90% in the prison.
Yeah. The prison. Yeah, it's a high. It's very high. What when they file an appeal? Since you know the numbers on that, what are the numbers of the people who are successful on appeal? What is the percentage of people who file appeals? The black people who file appeals there. What is the success? What is the percentage of success on appeal?
Well, that's a difficult question because my kids got too much strength in terms of appeal. Whereas if they are appealing to say, well, they didn't do it, but they don't have the evidence, most likely they just the evidence turned down. But let me give you an example. There was a white man that got charged for rape in this country, and he spent 17 years behind bars. They knew he didn't do it because they found out his DNA was not the DNA on the clothes, but it still kept him in prison. And he had to go to a charity called Appeals for them to fight his case and put it back into the appeal court because the appeal court rejected it, CCR rejected it, and they had to put it back for the basis that his DNA was not the DNA that was found at the girl's clothing. And then after 17 years, they decided to drop these charges and set him free. Now, they have to pay him to put him in prison for 17 years. They actually comprehend of taking the time that the electricity he spent when he was in the cell and the food he eat when he was in prison. They want to deduct that from what they had to pay him back. Okay. Knowing that they're putting the man in prison wrongfully. Yeah, but if that happens to a white man in this country, I can't tell you.
But Stefan, you are trying to get to the appellate section of this particular thing because you have been found guilty and you are talking about an appeal. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And my question is, what is the? And I'm asking you. I'm asking you because you're in the system. What is the percentage of people who file an appeal and win on appeal? It's a good question.
I can't answer that because I don't follow these stats mostly. All I can tell you is that I have never seen a case that went to court with such a case like mine. Is basically with all the strengths. There was no evidence at all to state that I stomped on my mom. There was no evidence to say that I took a life. Nothing like that. Everything.
But Stefan, if 80 to 90% of the prison's population is black there in England, and we're assuming that some people are railroaded, like how you were. They're innocent, but they're there, and they're going to file an appeal. Maybe you should find out for the next time we are together how many people have been successful.
I can't do that because everyone's case is different. There's something called conspiracy. Conspiracy, you don't need evidence at all. I just met a guy that got 24 years of conspiracy for importing drugs, and he had nothing to do with it. But conspiracy doesn't need evidence, so his case is totally different. He can appeal all he likes. It doesn't mean conspiracy is a very hard charge to beat. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're dealing with a case where I have physical evidence. If I didn't have physical, I'll be honest with you. If I didn't have the physical evidence, if it was just my word against them, I would never get out of this prison. If it was just my word against them, I got the physical evidence. I even got the evidence that they hid from the jury. The jury was never given everything. They were taking everything that would get the jury to see the truth of what actually happened. They hide. Mm-hmm. It's like, for instance, when I represent myself, I want to let the jury know how they convict me of murder. I said to the jury, my mom went to the hospital on the 18th of February. They found fractures. We went back to the hospital 10 days later, and they said there was no fractures. The hospital made a mistake, of course. My lawyers admit they made a mistake. And then the police used that to their advantage. They hid the information to say that she had fractures, rib fractures and lumbar fractures, but showed the pathologist that she had no fractures on the 1st of March. So having a pathologist that never seen this case before, looking at a medical document to say that there's no fractures on the 1st of March, but on the 8th of March, she got 39 fractures, it had to be a brutal assault. Within 7 days, achieving this, when it's not the case, it's far from the truth.
Right.
So when I tried to relate that to the court, when I was representing myself, I got the judge would cut me short, the guy would talk over me, and he wouldn't answer the question. I think he's saying to the judge, he's not answering my question, and the judge would say, yes, he answered your question. So the judge was prohibiting me from getting the truth out when I was representing myself as well.
Right.
You understand?
So you think? So you think? Wait.
I thought I was climbing up a mountain.
Yeah. So So yeah. But do you think it's going to be different on appeal?
Of course. The reason why different appeal, the appeal lawyers, they don't have to deal with the judge. They don't have to see the judge. Everything is behind closed doors. So if a law firm win the appeal based on the evidence, like I said to you before, if I didn't have the evidence, it was just my word, I have no chance. I have too much evidence. I got 200. But
you realize that you can't bring new evidence when it comes to the appeal, right? I don't know if you realize that or not.
But you don't. Yeah, but you don't understand what new evidence is. Everything that was discussed about my kids wasn't mentioned at trial. There was no mention at trial.
So if there was no mention at trial, how can you bring that as part of the appeal?
Because there's new evidence.
You can't bring, but you can't bring. But okay. Okay, let me ask you, because maybe you need to ask yourself and do some research. Can you bring new evidence? Because it seems as though from the appellate, we're talking from that court, they want to know that something was misapprehended at the lower court. You cannot. I don't think you can bring new evidence, but you have to show that the evidence that was.
I just told you, anything that is not mentioned at trial or put in front of a jury is new evidence.
And I'm saying that may not be admissible for the appeal. You're not listening. It may not.
No, you can't say that, because I already discussed this with lawyers already.
Okay.
I'm not telling you this because I think this is the case. I'm telling you this because this is advice given to my lawyers. My lawyers advised me. Mm-hmm. It was not mentioned in trial, so it can be produced as new evidence. But
you preserve things for appeal at trial. You preserve things that are being done for appeal at trial. So if it didn't come up at trial, how? Okay, this is from the jail, so his time is up and it was disconnected. But yeah, I'll go into this next time I talk to him, because usually you preserve things that are going wrong at the trial level for appeal. But if it was never even part of the trial, how could it be preserved for the appeal? That was the point I was trying to make. But when I hear from him again, hopefully I will remember to start from this point. But that's it for now. This is Sherry Veronica, Naked Departure Radio. Hi, this is Sherry Veronica. Stefan called back. We got cut off last time. He called back. So he's talking. He wants to talk to you, the audience, about his appeal. And from my vantage point, I'm talking to him because I'm giving him information that he's not thinking about, that he may ask his attorney. And that's where I'm going. I want to feed you with questions to ask your attorney. But you go ahead and you say what you want to say.
It's not so much the appeal I'm focusing on here, because that hasn't started yet. I want to focus on what went wrong in the court when I was forced to represent myself. When the judge told me I had to represent myself because he was not willing to let me have another lawyer. And then we had to go behind his back and get a law firm to represent me. And then I found the law firm that was representing me was working with the prosecution and against the prosecution. And I had to terminate the services. I had another law firm that was representing me, and they knew that there was no case, the case was supposed to be thrown out. The colleague of the owner of the firm, his colleague, is who informed me and said, look, my boss could have had this case thrown out since 2020, but he didn't. And I asked why. And he said, you have to speak to my boss. So when I called his boss and said, look, it's Greg, why didn't you throw the case out when you had the opportunity? And then he sacked me because I found him doing something illegal. The reason why he didn't throw the case out because he wouldn't get paid if the case would get thrown out. So the longer the case runs, the more he gets paid.
But you said something. You said something. You said something that I would be remiss if I didn't ask you. It didn't make sense to me when you said that the judge did not want you to have an attorney, and you went behind the judge's back and got an attorney. So how do you go? How do you go behind the judge's back and bring an attorney in the court when he says he don't want you to have an attorney?
Because what happened is how it works over here. There's something called legal aid. Legal aid can be obtained in two ways. You can either go directly to legal aid, or the judge can make a decision whether to stop your legal aid to get in from to hiring another lawyer. Because I can afford to pay my own lawyer, I have to go through legal aid, which is government. So how it works, there's a form called a transfer form. If you're not happy with your present solicitors, you fill out this transfer form, and then the judge makes a decision whether to let that transfer, approve the transfer form or deny it. If the judge deny it, you're stuck with the lawyers. But I learned I met a lawyer in prison. He was in a cell next to me, and he said to me, no, you're not stuck with the lawyer. You can do something called, you can apply for withdrawal of legal aid. What withdrawal of legal aid means is that you can stand up in court and say to the judge, I want to withdraw, I don't want to transfer, I want to withdraw legal aid from this firm, and the judge has to abide. He has no power when you tell him that you
But you said the judge did not
transfer.
You said the judge did not want you to have, you said the judge did not want you to have an attorney. You said that.
Yeah, I'm getting that part. So basically, when I put in for they made me put in for transfer because I didn't know I could do a withdrawal. So when I put in for transfer to Spurn Law, which is the next firm, the judge said no. You're not going to you have to represent yourself. You had 4 lawyers already. You're wasting taxpayers' money. That's what he said to me. So Spurn Law went behind his back and went directly to the legal aid and got the legal aid with the approval of the prosecution, because the prosecution didn't want the case to be restarted in another court on another judge. So she agreed that I should get the legal aid. So they went behind the judge's back and went directly to legal aid and got the legal aid for a new firm.
But the judge is in control of the courtroom, and how did that happen?
No, he's in charge of the courtroom, not legal aid. Legal aid is a separate entity. That is a part of the government that pays for your lawyers. The judge only has power if you are transferring from one legal aid, from one law firm to the next. That's what I said to you before. If I'm with Spurn Law. This is a law firm. I'm not happy with this law firm now. So every single person, including most of the persons I met, all they know is in order to get rid of these lawyers, we have to put in for a transfer. It's called transfer of legal aid form. You fill out that form. It has to go in front of the judge. The judge can make a decision as to accept this transfer of legal aid or deny it. He has that power. But if you do not fill out a transfer form and you just say you want to withdraw legal aid, the judge has no power.
Okay, so when you said that you have an attorney that is in your cell block?
No, and I said there's people here, prisoners that don't know the legal procedure.
I thought you said that there was you said there was an attorney there that was in jail. Okay.
No.
Okay.
I'm just explaining to you what power the judge have, but when he don't have. The only power the judge have is when it comes to legal aid, because legal aid is a separate entity, is a department of the government that pays your lawyers. Yes? If you're performing a transfer from one firm to the next because you're not happy with the firm you have, the judge has the power to let that transfer go through or deny it. But if you stand up in court and say you want to withdraw legal aid, the judge has no power to stop it.
Okay.
It's as simple as that.
Okay.
So I learned that from a lawyer who was in prison that shared a cell with me. He's a prisoner.
But I just asked you that. And you said no, that you didn't know what I'm talking.
No, yeah. I'm thinking that you were talking about someone.
No. I just asked you that. And you said you didn't know what I was talking about.
Sorry, I didn't remember. Yeah. This was 4 years ago when I met him. He's the one that advised me and told me the law. He said to me, no, do not put in for transfer, because if you do, you're stuck with them. If the judge says no, you're stuck with them.
So this particular lawyer that you met 4 years ago is no longer there?
No, he's still in prison. He got 25 years.
So he's still there with you, right?
He's still there, but he's in a different prison. I'm in a different prison.
Okay.
So that happened 4 years ago.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to explain to you now is going through with the fact that the judge tried to force me to represent myself and didn't want to give me any lawyers. And I explained to you what happened, how we went and got the legal aid. And then when I did get the lawyers, they went behind my back and tried to sell me out to the prosecution.
So how are you saying that it's going to be different now that you're in prison and you still have to get attorneys to help you with the appeal? How is it going to be different? I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, the difference is you don't have to stand in front of the judge and the prosecution that represent the case. You go to a different court.
Okay.
A higher court, and the higher court is much fairer than the normal court. The other court, you got what we call cowboy courts. They can do anything they want. As long as the case is going on, they can do anything they want. When you go to an appeal court, you go to high court over these people. And if you've got the grounds, you would get an appeal. I have met people that got appeal, not many people, but I met people that got watch the news and see people that got appeal against the case. Yeah? There was a gentleman here saw that they blamed for trafficking women, sexuals. He rent rooms out to prostitutes, but they thought he was the pimp or whatever the case may be, and he went appeal against it, and he won his appeal. Yeah, but I'm not saying that it happens. It happens more or less than it happens less than more. But the point I'm trying to get back to is my case. Let me focus on my case. All I'm saying to you is that when I had to stand up and judge represent myself, they made it really hard for me. They took liberties of bringing evidence that they shouldn't bring in. The prosecution had a good opening statement. I could not do an opening statement. She cherry picked everything. If it was a statement saying, well, Mr. Hewitt said that he didn't want his mom put in care, the sentence would say, Mr. Hewitt said he didn't want his mom in care because he wants his mom to be 24 hours watch in a facility and not have a care come to his house and look after his mom. The prosecution only choose the part where it says, well, Mr. Hewitt was offered care and he refused it. That's how she cherry picked. She just picks things that would make her case look good or make it look more feasible. And then the judge looked at me and told me I can't cherry pick. When I tried to tell the jury that the police tamper evidence, the judge looked at me and threatened me and said, well, if you tell the jury that the police tamper evidence, I'm going to bring all your premises. Which, what that means basically, when I stand in front of the court for this case, is I have premises, but the jury doesn't know that. They're not allowed to bring in. But they can use that as grounds for previous if I bring up the fact that the police tamper evidence. So when the case was going on, and I got back some lawyers again now, and the lawyer came for 2 weeks and walked off the job. And the reason why he walked off the job is because there's another lawyer, and I must admit, we call them barristers, sorry, the ones that put the fancy thing on top of their head when they stand in court. Because solicitors are different from barristers. They were outside the court, where the barristers were inside the court. And this barrister, he looked like, oh my God, he looked like he came on a trash can. He got like bogies in his nose, his teeth is rotten, his breath smells, and the other lawyer doesn't want to work with him. And instead of saying that, he walked off the job. I took the money that the legal aid paid him. So we couldn't afford to pay another lawyer or barrister to represent me. So we had to go back with him and a junior barrister. And every time I give them instructions, I said to them, tell the jury the police admit they tampered with evidence on the 23rd of October 2022. Tell the jury that the prosecution hit the fact that that was rigor mortis, so she can affect the timeline of death. They all agree with me that is the case. They're not denying it, but they wouldn't tell the jury. I got it in writing. I got document here in writing showing, and I could send. I could definitely send that to you. That's no problem. I got documents here from my lawyer saying it doesn't make sense. The video show he didn't do it. It's written in paper, but when it comes to telling the court, they wouldn't tell the court. So I was stuck. I was on my own. They took advantage of me being on my own, and then I found my neighbor. She claimed in her first statement that she never came to my house when my mom was there for the 7 or 8 months. She never came to my house. So when I was going through my evidence with the police about just during the trial, I found pictures and videos of her in the house with my mom and the kids, about 30 videos and 20 pictures. And then the police rushed and told the prosecution, well, she was in the house. And then she went and told my neighbor. My neighbor had to write a new statement to say that she was in the house. My neighbor wrote a statement saying that she saw blood in the bathroom, but she never cleaned it up. Then we got a statement showing that she did see the blood and clean it up. So there was nothing at all that, other than the prosecution saying what she's saying, to state that anything happened to my mom that was illegal, or she ignored all the investigation. I think common sense would dictate, if I take my mom to the hospital when she had a fall and they carry out their own investigation, then release her back into my care, you would think that my lawyers were going to get the notes from the social services, what was said, what was the interview like, why did they decide to release her back into my care. They had no concerns. But no. Then my mom had these dark circles for years. My aunt was talking about it because her sister got the same thing. And the dark circles were so dark, the prosecution took a picture and cropped one eye out and just show one eye and try to make it look like a black eye. And that was shut down because when I stood in front of the jury, I showed pictures, over 350 pictures, that it is a dark circles on both eyes and not one eye. There was a lot of underhanded work in this case, but at the end of the day is, I have to get the appeal, but I would not go. My lawyers that represented me at the case, they agree that the conviction is unsafe. They applied for an appeal against the conviction straight away. The only problem I have with my present lawyers is that they blame me for losing the case. And how did they blame me for losing the case? They wrote in the appeal document that I was unmanageable. It was difficult to take instructions from me. And I'm like, they don't even want to take responsibility for losing the easiest case in the world. How many cases, Sherry, that you heard of where CCTV footage was there to show that whatever they claim happened never happened? Mm-hmm. How many cases you hear that? Most likely everyone drops the case.
Yeah.
But no, this is the system we live in. As a black man, the prosecution knew I was innocent, and still they went and changed the time on the videos. They tamper with the evidence. And they delete the original videos. And then every time I tell my lawyer, look, where's the original videos? These are modified videos. They're not original videos. And then they kept their mouth closed, and they would not say it to the jury. So it seems that I'm the only one that's screaming and shouting the truth, but my own lawyers would not say it. But lucky for me, with the appeal now, I don't have to say anything because I have all the documents, I have all the videos, and I have all the statements. I got the statement showing, I got the video camera footage from the police when they came to me and lied to me and told me, yes, on the 8th of on the 14th of the 3rd, 2020, the pathologist has carried out an autopsy, and they found, they were concerned, they found things that they were concerned about. But when we read the report from the autopsy, we found out that they haven't even concluded the report because I was arrested at 11 o'clock and they finished at 14:20. So the police lied to me.
He was disconnected, so I guess we'll continue on next time he calls. This is Sherry Veronica, Naked Departure Radio.
Help me spread the word about Naked Departure via social media. Subscribe and share to show support and love for our channels.